Hey girls, it's Bree.
It's Cece.
It's Angela.
And you're tuned into For the Girls. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to shout out my friend Bree who requested this. She is wanting to know about long distance relationships, how to basically make sure that, they're successful, kind of like understanding and knowing red flags, what questions to have, and all the things. So we're going to get into all things long distance. But before we do, we have a comment from Shay. This was on our episode dealing with childhood trauma. Shay says, "You guys don't miss. I need these more than I'm willing to say." And that means everything to us. Thanks, Shay.
We try, girl.
Yes. And that's a new compliment. We never got that. You guys don't miss.
No.
Pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. Thanks so much, Shay. So we don't have a write-in today. We are just answering 4 questions. So the first one is, what are the best questions to ask in a long-distance relationship? But before we get into answering the questions, we're just going to quickly explain if we have any experience in long-distance dating or not, starting with Cece.
No.
That was quick. That was quick and simple.
Well, that's a no-go for me as well. Yeah, I haven't done that either.
For me, I've had 2. So in college, which, I guess we could count or not count, but we were in a very serious relationship. So I have that experience. And then 2, Dre and I were dating while I still, I was living in Cleveland. And it was about how long, Dre? Like almost a year? 2 months.
Wow, you guys are really off on this.
What are you talking about? It wasn't 2 months.
We reconnected in March. You needed down here in May.
We're gonna March.
Okay, so
I thought that we were talking for like a whole. Oh, I guess it was almost a year after we reconnected. That I'm getting confused with. It felt like a long time. Well, okay.
She still has experience.
I guess it was 2 months.
Experience is experience.
Okay.
Here, right now.
The timeline does not matter.
That is hilarious. Okay, so we
year, right?
He says 2 months.
I don't think that's right.
I'm gonna side with Dre on this one.
Yeah,
That's weird.
I typically trust Dre.
I definitely
no
thought it was
offense,
like a
Bree,
year.
but
Dates and all kinds of things.
Well, I guess that's the first thing to learn about long distance. It seems a lot longer than it actually is. Because, honey, I thought I was in the trenches for like a year. But okay. So, hopping back to our question, what are the best questions to ask in a long distance relationship? And I know you guys haven't been in one, but I mean, I think you guys could still give some insight.
Yeah.
Oh, but I guess I'll
you
start
go first, girl. You're the one who's done it.
Okay, so I think the first thing, right, is nobody wants to waste their time. And when somebody is when you're talking to someone who lives in a different state, you obviously at some point want to meet that person in person. I've watched a lot of Catfish and, you just don't know. And somebody can be totally different online and in their pictures and on FaceTime and through a phone than in person. Like that's when you really get to see people's mannerisms and the way that they move, and you can like see what your energy together is like. So I think the first thing is when connecting with a person of the opposite sex that's in another state is to just first making sure that they want to meet in person, or that they would be willing to meet in person, and what that would look like. And I don't have like a preference or a thought process on whether the man or the woman should be the one to, go there or come there, or even whether like the man should like pay for it. I think it's definitely dependent on your situation. But I think that's the first thing, is just like making sure that the person really wants to meet, and then having an understanding of like where they are in their life and in their living situation. And that comes very naturally. Like normally in talking to somebody within the first, conversation of just being like, so what do you do? And they'll say like, oh, I do X, Y, and Z, or I just got a position at such and such, but I'm only here for 2 years. I'm actually from this place. Like you can learn a lot about a person within the very first initial conversations without even making it a thought of like, oh, this is long distance. What questions do I need to ask? So I think just be intentional with getting to know the person. And then, if it's something serious, then you can get to like, so, when you trying to see me, or like when we gonna link. Do you guys have any thoughts on like what questions to ask?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to know who you live with.
That's important. Who you living with?
Because, when it's long distance,
You don't know.
I would have never thought about that.
when it's long distance, they could live with their baby mama. They could live with you never really know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a virtual tour.
It's like, do you like to FaceTime? We're
gonna be doing a lot of FaceTime.
Okay, because I'm gonna need to see need to see your surroundings.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness,
No, that's a serious question.
no, it is. And more seriousness. Also, how long do you see yourself there? Like, is this a city that you see yourself living in long term, or do you want to explore other cities, like live in? Like, what are you looking for as far as like places to settle down? I want to know that, because then just because you guys are long distance doesn't mean that you guys down the road can't potentially leave both of your cities and go to another city together, So I'd like to like kind of understand a little bit more about their long-term vision and goals of where they would ultimately like to settle. Those are like some of the key ones that kind of come to mind.
And I just agree with your first statement. Nobody wants to waste their time, and I think that in any relationship, you should really sit down and be intentional about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're here to get married within the first 2 long distance dates. However, like what are you trying to do? What are you getting out of this? Are you dating to get married? Are you just dating? I'm not saying you're dating me to get married, but are you like, is your goal to eventually to get married? If not, what is your goal? Does it align with yours? Because you might not want to get married, and it's just nobody wants to waste their time. Time wasted keeps you off the market.
Oh, I got another one.
Okay.
I'm also really curious to know, like, what do you like to do in your spare time? Do you like to go out to clubs a lot? Do you like to go out to bars a lot? Because then that puts you in an environment that could potentially be compromising, especially when you're not around your person every single day, or like you guys don't live in the same city. It just opens up, a room for opportunity to happen.
Temptation.
So so that's something else that I would like to know, like, how do they spend their free time?
I think these are like important questions
regardless
in
of
general.
Yeah.
But in a long distance relationship, I think it's important to get to the root of because it's if you're gonna spend your time with someone that is miles away, is not easily accessible, you are intentionally making the decision to give your time to somebody, and could potentially just be a massive failure just because of the distance. So if there's some intentionality there with your questions, even in a regular relationship, but with the long distance one, it seems like you need to be a little more blunt and straight to the point with some of the things, you know?
And I think the biggest thing too is if you are someone who's even going to entertain dating somebody long distances, first you have to be willing to move from what you can't expect to meet someone states away and then expect them to just come where you are.
Right.
So you, not only would you have to be willing to move where they are, but you would have to be willing to kind of move anywhere, because as Cece said, it could be one person, coming to the other person's location, but it also could be the two of you just finding a place that you think is best suited for the both of you.
Yeah.
And then instead of like asking specific questions, what I would do if you're dating someone long term or that's long distance and you want to date them long term, I think it needs to be a conversation of what does our long distance dating need to look like in order to set us up for success. And if that means, like for a year, you guys are going to date and no one's going to make any commitment of moving, or like you're staying put just to continue to date, it's like, having certain boundaries in place, like, okay, in a month's time frame, we're going to see each other twice. You're going to come here once a month. I'm going to come there once a month. Is it going to be weekends? Is it going to be weekdays? Like, what does your work schedule look like? What is an opportunity for you in terms of free time when we're talking FaceTime? Like, can I talk to you randomly throughout the day, or is your job super strict and I can only speak to you before work and after work? So having a conversation of like, how do we make this be a successful journey for us? Because if you're dating somebody long distance and you're not on the same page, you can absolutely be made to look a fool and be wasting your time. And meanwhile, while you think you're intentionally dating this person, they could be in a whole other relationship. They could be, you know, when they're not answering their phone, they could be doing anything. And that is the risk that you take with long distance. So I think having that conversation is really important. And as Angela mentioned, you just got to get to it quicker, be more blunt. Like, don't be talking to somebody states away if you're not sure that they want a serious relationship, and if you're not sure of what it looks like to see each other on a consistent basis. Because if you do long distance, let's say for a year, and then you guys actually get together, meet up, your energy could be so off. Your connection could be weird. Like, it reminds me of like Love is Blind in the show, when they're behind those pods and they're just hearing the person's voice and they're getting to know them as a person. Sometimes when they see the person for the very first time, and this is them, they're already committed. They already have proposed and they said yes to getting married. They're meeting this person that they're supposed to marry because they fell in love blindly with only knowing certain things. And it reminds me of like long distance. You only hear that person's voice. And when they see and they meet, sometimes immediately they're like, like, this ain't my person. And sometimes immediately they're like, oh my God, like, this is it. And it works. And so the same thing could happen. So just protect your time and your energy by putting something in place to meet the person sooner than later.
I just want to piggyback on your points right there. Is like, you know, setting a structure around your cadence of how you guys want your relationship to look as far as like spending time with each other. But also, you know, what's really important is understanding how you and your partner like to be loved, and the intimacies that you guys require. Right? So like, some people need more physical intimacy than other people. If you or your partner is that type of person, then maybe you need to have more, your cadence needs to be much greater than if you and your partner aren't necessarily as physical of individuals. And also, if you know that your partner is a very physical individual, you know, just be mindful of that. Like, you know, if you're not taking more trips with them, just understand the type of person that you're in a relationship with, and what kind of risks that can bring into your relationship, since you guys are long term, right? Like that can also open doors to, you know, opportunities kind of happening for them if they feel like they're not being loved in a certain way. So just understand that as well going into your relationship.
I think, Bree, you brought up a really good point. If you are the type of person who knows that you're not about to move, that you need to be touched a lot, you need to be physically with somebody a lot, I don't think long distance relationship should be something you should consider.
100% agree.
And I say that because it's almost like, if you go through that self-exploration phase and you know this about yourself, and then you put yourself in that situation, I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying you're making it very, very difficult for yourself to be happy. And because eventually at some point in a long distance relationship, someone needs to move near somebody at some point. I'm pretty sure there's relationships out there where they just kind of visit each other and every now and then. Those are kind of, they're not usual. But I think most long distance relationships, somebody moves to somebody, or they move to a neutral spot. So if you are the type of person who knows that, hey, I am happy in Washington, D.C., that is a no, that's a cut card. I am not leaving here. I don't think you should probably go into a long distance relationship where there has to be a compromise of some sort. I mean, things can change, but if you are knee bent, like I have to be here, it's almost kind of not fair to the other person if they want to stay where they are. So I could see that being a potential problem. And also, again, like you said, the type of person who needs a lot of touch, a lot of physical touch. You know, I'm not saying that there aren't ways to stimulate yourselves in a long distance relationship, but if you,
but there's nothing like
a little rub, a little handhold.
Right.
And this is what I was gonna say. So I'm a very my love language is
Yeah.
physical touch, but being in my long distance relationships, what felt similar to physical touch was FaceTime. And we are blessed to be in a time where you can see a person's face and feel like you're almost there with them. And so for me, it was very important. Like we barely never talked on the phone. It was always FaceTime because I needed that extraness because of the space and the distance that was created. So I think it's important if you are in a long distance relationship, like do as much FaceTime as possible. Again, the thing with the long distance that you're playing a risk of is that person not being fully who they say they are, them having other situations that maybe you're unaware of. And the easiest way to nip that in the butt is, like I said, always do FaceTime. Like, why not? You see people's real when you can actually see what they're doing and where they are and again, how they live. Like,
to a certain
I don't
extent.
want to just hear your voice, but I'm saying you're in a better position than if you're only texting somebody or talking on the phone.
If you're only texting your long distance
a lot of
partner,
people do that, girl. That's how people be on Catfish.
okay, exactly.
They be on social media
and people live in
texting.
completely different lives. Also,
Yeah.
like for me, I can't be with someone long term if I haven't lived with you. I have to see how we cohabitate together because
so I think it's
just
important to express like a time frame, just like how we talk about like marriage. It's like, okay, so how long are we gonna do this long distance thing before we decide where we're gonna be actually living and settling and starting our like situation together? Because you could end up talking to somebody for a year, 2 years, and it's still like what the heck? What are we doing? So I think that's important, really important, is to be like, yo, what does this look like in terms of timeline? But I wanted to talk about some like red flags in dating somebody long distance. And the first thing that comes to mind, because it happened to me, and I was like, oh, I see what we on, is, again, if you know the person's schedule and their lifestyle and their situation and their habits, it's easy to pick up on when they're not being truthful or when they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So understand what that person's life looks like, really get clarity on what their day-to-day situation is. And if you start seeing that when you FaceTime, instead of them FaceTiming back, they'll just text you.
Ooh, girl.
That is a major red flag.
Red flags.
Yeah,
Red flag.
big red flag.
I think we brought this up in a previous episode. Effort. There can be lots of effort in a long distance relationship too.
Yeah.
If,
If sometimes even more so than the person like living in the same city as you.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, I think that's a red flag. If the person's effort is directly correlated to their interest in you. So
keep going.
Sorry, we had a hair moment.
you're fluffing your hair.
feel like got in my
If you're
mouth.
watching it, Bree was probably fluffing her beautiful curls. We're going on this natural curl journey again. Yes. But no, I think simple red flag, that's one of the biggest ones, is efforts. And I think with the long distance relationship, you gotta put I'm imagining an incredible amount of effort to make this person feel loved, to make them know
Trust
that you're
you.
interested in them, to
Yeah.
get them to trust you. Now, you know, obviously, like you said, you call somebody and they text you back. That's a huge red flag. If they go missing for days,
Red flag.
Oh, yeah. If they're
Ooh.
non-responsive,
if they're not willing to FaceTime you but won't really give you a reason as to I mean, because I get sometimes you can't FaceTime, but if they're really trying to give you a reason as to why, red flag. If you're not
If they can only talk to you during like these very, very specific windows,
Yeah.
like during the day, and it's like why can we only
If we're not
talk
pillow
from
talking-
9:30 to like 10 o'clock? Like
Yeah.
what are you doing the rest of the day?
I think another big one is if they're not willing to come see you, and you're
only going to see them.
For sure.
That's a red flag.
Or
sure.
vice versa, they're only coming to see you, and
they
you
won't
and you
let you
can
come
they
to
won't
see
let
them.
you
To
come.
see them.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Again, who you live with?
Yeah, for real. It's like it's got to
You
go
can see Cece
both
has some
ways.
trauma around this one. But no, I mean that's real. Like, why can you only come here? Why can't I come hang out with you in your space? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that would probably be a really fun thing in a long distance relationship. You have like an expected trip all the time to a new place, and you get to experience your person all over again. With in-person relationships, you know, it's really hot, it's really heavy for the first couple months, and then like you start noticing, you know, you're getting used to the everyday things. With the long distance relationship, it's almost like it's new.
It's like drawn out, like that honeymoon
that hot
phase.
and heavy
Yeah.
part seems like it would be something
Yeah.
fun in the beginning. How did that play out for you and Dre?
Well, like I said, I thought it was a year. So it seemed like it was a long time. And I guess maybe because of the level of patience that I had to have, I must have been driving back and forth like every weekend. And so this is what's funny though. So Dre actually never came and visited me while we were long distance. It makes me feel
flag.
better
No,
now that
stop.
it's 2 months. But no, we had a reason why. Well, like I said,
I'm saying if there's a reason, please don't red flag that man or woman.
Yeah.
If there's a
And
reason.
also, if the other person lives in a better city, it's like, I want to come to you.
He's like Cleveland. No, we had reasons. When I had court dates in DC, so I'm like, I'm already here. Let me just see you.
Yeah.
And then, like they mentioned, I was planning on potentially moving to DC, so I wanted to know the city more and like meet friends and stuff. So I was coming for my own reasons, and then. Third, like I am a driver. I love road trips. Dre's not. So it didn't ever make sense for him to just like come fly. And like, you know, my life when I was in Cleveland at that time was so busy that he would have just been like there, but like I wouldn't have been able to be like intentional with him. So when I did have the moments of like, okay, I have a clearance of time and I can actually drive up there and come back like the next day, I would do that because I didn't mind it. And he was intentional in every other way that for me that wasn't a red flag because we were communicating about it. If I would have asked him, hey, come up here and see me, he would have. And so I think it's important to, you know, communicate and understand like whatever works best for the person, that it might not necessarily be a red flag if it's communicated and if it makes sense. But again, Drake could FaceTime me at any moment, at any place, and I would always, and you know, all of my friends, my family, they like knew about him. So I was going to say that is secondary. If you're dating somebody long distance and it's been a while, you definitely should have like virtually met his friends and even like some family to a certain extent.
Yes.
A lot of
you
the
shouldn't
things
feel like a
that-
secret.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of those things that you do in a normal relationship, and you know that these are kind of rites of passage because all of the reality shows do it. Like either they're getting married blindly or they're like a 90-day fiance or whatever. It's whatever the little twist is on the show. It always seems like a common theme is got to meet the friends, got to meet the family. That's always an important. Got one-on-ones with them too. Like that seems to be a common thread in Love is Blind, and
you learn a lot about a person.
Yeah, because they're part of who you are. So I think that's a great piece of like advice or red flag if he's not taking the time to, you know, show you his whole life and people are part of people's lives, then I think that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about in long distance relationships, how do you keep it like interesting, or I guess like how do you not let that like fizzle? Like how do you stay consistent in a long distance relationship?
It makes me think of COVID.
Yeah.
yeah.
There was so many things we were doing. We were doing like virtual happy hours.
Yeah.
We were doing like virtual workouts together. Like, I mean, when there's a will, there's a way, y'all.
Yeah.
When there's a will, there's a way.
I'm a big adventurer. So I love the idea of like you guys meeting up in a city that neither of you have been to,
fun.
you know, and it's like you guys are very intentional about structuring a vacation at least once a quarter, or you know, if you guys live like, if there's like a middle point between you guys' cities, maybe you set up a fitness retreat, or like, you know, because like you can make it so that it's mutually beneficial to both of you, but then you guys can like, have this experience together, right? So like maybe there's some type of personal development seminar that both of you are really interested in, and it's like, oh well, this speaker is gonna be in this city. Let's go do this together. You know, it's like there's so many different things happening all across the country. It's like, so it's like, how can we be intentional about bringing us two together outside of our normal environments, so that we can have each other's full focus and attention.
And with that, I was going to say, as you were talking, I just thought about like the time that you spend with somebody looks different when it's why do we keep saying long term? When it's long distance versus, you know, the typical in-person situation, because in person, you're doing all these different versions of dates. You're sometimes just hanging out, just spending all day together, laid up on the couch, just talking or eating or whatever. So I think it's important to do active things that allow you to be active, like physically, but also being able to have conversation. Like you don't want to set up a bunch of dates that are like movies where you can't have conversations, or concerts where you can't hear anything except the music and you're just like turned up, or going out to the clubs. Like it should be dates that allow for conversation and like quality time to be had. And then if you are two people who enjoy those types of things, then mix and match it, kind of like Cece said. So if it is that you guys are going to meet up in a city to go to a concert, go for the whole weekend so that the concert is one day, but then you have 2 full days just to spend time together.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. But okay, some people might not have the means for that.
So let's just talk about like virtually,
what are some things you can do?
Meeting each other in your own city costs money sometimes.
So a lot of money, you know. So again, I think a virtual those used to be lit, y'all. The virtual happy hours, you know. What else?
There's so many cute things you could do, like cooking, right? Like, and like most of the times both people won't be able, like they won't be good cooks. So it's a cute bonding experience where you can kind of see if your person can cook or not. But it's like, hey, so here's a recipe. Let's today go and get all of the groceries, and you guys are in your own towns, like, you know, states apart or wherever. And it's like, here's the grocery list. Let's meet at 7 and let's cook this meal together.
Yes, I love that.
And then let's sit down and eat it together. And it's like,
cute.
that's a date night.
That is super cute.
I mean?
Or even like take it like the next step to make it like an actual like exclusive date experience. Get a private chef, and then you guys can do like a 3-way Zoom, and like the private chef, and you guys have, you know, like so that
they have those like online
exactly. My sister-in-law during COVID would host like private cooking classes because she's like a Parisian trained pastry chef, and so she would have like these like Zoom cooking classes, and it was like very like intimate, and like that's another way where you can keep it fun, exciting, but like, and then at the end of the cooking experience, the chef can drop, and then you guys can have dinner together, you know?
Oh, I love that. So, I mean, and you know what? Thank God for Pinterest. Like, you can type anything into Pinterest, like fun date night ideas or virtual dates, and like, it will pop up so many different things. So I think...
You know what also is really cute? Let's speak of Pinterest. Sean and I used to do this, like, when we were like dating, or even like when we were planning something, we'd have like a shared board. And you see the person you can kind of get their style, see what they're adding on. Oh, I like that. That's his personality. Like it teaches you. I don't know if you know about shared boards, but like you have it together, and they pin, and it lets you know when somebody's pinned. So I think that's a really cute idea.
Also, another thing is like, if you guys are both like into reading, like have your own little book club, and like in that way you guys can like be very intentional about like,
that's a good idea.
We're doing this together, and then we're gonna have like a discussion about it. It's another way to learn about your partner, about their thoughts, how they think about things, like finding cute ways to tap more into who they truly are is what I would recommend.
Something I thought of too is when you're dating someone in a different state, most times you probably don't know that other city well. And so a cute idea for like the very first dates could be like, you show me the best of your city, and then I'll show you the best of mine, type of thing. Because again, if we're dating intentionally, one of us is going to have to move. And so who's going to sell the other person on where they live? You know, that could be cute. And to kind of just like talk like, so what are your thoughts now that you've seen, like, could you see yourself living here? Like, what are the pros and cons for you? Like, make the serious conversations be something that could be light and fun and exciting. So I really like that. And then I think one thing we have to talk about is sex. Because when sex is, you know, in the picture, like if you are having sex when you see each other, then it could become something that, again, kind of puts like pressure on it, where it's like every time you see that person, you feel almost obligated to be
sex.
intimate.
Yeah.
So again, that is a conversation to be had.
Foundational. Yep.
Because sex and finances are very foundational, and both are very important in long distance relationships, because you're going to have to spend money to be intentional about seeing each other. And then you're going to have conversations about sex. Like, is that a thing that we're doing? Is it a thing that we're not? And again, you're taking that risk of not knowing what that person is doing when you're not around. And that's the scary thing. So I would say to be cautious with getting intimate with someone long distance. I do not think that you should be intimate with the person the first time that you meet them, nor maybe the second time. Honestly, I think it's important to really learn that person, because as women, you know us, once we give somebody that part of us, it could be harder to leave a situation even though we're seeing red flags. So I think 2 long distance dates without being intimate would be, you know, my suggestion, especially if you're, again, trying to see if this person is serious. Because most times a guy will fly you out or wine and dine you because he knows if you're coming Friday through Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he gonna get some butt. So he's paying for an experience. He's not really paying to get to know you, and you can tell the difference. So don't give that thing up until enough history has shown that he's actually interested in you. That would be my thing.
Yeah. But okay, so you've done all the things, he's earned your trust, you've had sex, you're still long distance. How are we keeping it spicy in the long distance?
I think it depends on your person, like a lot,
and your personality. Like you know, some people don't, you know, like to send like sexy nudes. You know, saying it's like, you missed this, you know you missed this, right? That's their thing. And then some people just like the keeping it spicy is just having like a very like in-depth like intellectual conversation. You know, it varies from person to person. So
it goes back to what Angela said. Honestly, you said like knowing, or it might have been Cece, I don't know, or both of you. One of you or both of you said that it's about understanding how the other person receives love and wants to be loved, and what makes them feel special, what makes them feel like I'm giving you the attention that you need. So have those conversations very early, and as you get into, you know, a deeper, like let's say you're going in a year to 2 years, just because you had the conversation as a foundational convo does not mean 6 months later that those answers have changed. So I love what Angela and Sean do with Talk Time every Sunday, where it's like,
we changed the name. We changed to Hannah Huddled.
Hannah.
Cute. The Hannah Huddle.
You guys are cute. You guys are
Hannah
cute.
Huddle. Hey y'all, it's Angela Hannah. I just will never forget that. But yeah, continue to check in and make it something that you both are being like intentional about, because it will change. You can't think 3 months later that what that person said they needed and wanted is the same unless you ask. And sometimes we as women will start to feel away because we're like, he's not showing me the same level of attention. And it's like, well, baby girl, speak up. Say something, communicate. Because most of the time they don't know.
What seems like to be the really cool thing about long distance relationships is the communication has to be A1. Like it has to be on point, because you have nothing else to really go on. It's, you know, long distance relationships, those seem hard. I never did one. They seem really hard, but if you can get through one, it seems like it could be incredible to be able to love and respect and connect and support someone from a distance. Imagine what it's like. You've built that foundation, then you come together. You're unstoppable physically together at that point. And we know some couples who were long distance and they made it. So, you know, I think all relationships are hard. We all had 3 different relationships. And long distance relationships, they're just another level of hard. So it's just about what you want and what you can do. And, you know, when it comes to sex, I mean, my God, there's way more things out there than, you know, just because, I mean, Sean and I have done the sexy phone calls when we were down the street from each other. So, I mean, there's like FaceTime now. I don't know what happens on the FaceTime, y'all. Can y'all put that on the comments?
See, and I think it's, you gotta know who you are. It's like, I am not that type of person. I will crack the hell up. Like, that's not happening for me.
Me neither.
So that's why long distance probably wouldn't make sense for me where I am.
That's why
now.
it was only 2 months and not a year.
It would be weird. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And I mean, we weren't having sex regardless, but that wasn't happening.
Oh shoot, I forgot,
facts.
y'all.
That's facts.
I'm so used to that y'all have sex now.
But this is the last thing I want to say about it. Angela mentioned that if you're doing long distance, the good thing about it is that the communication would be key and would be strong. And I want to say the exact opposite to that is that if you are dating somebody who is long distance and the communication is not good, get out.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, it's not worth your time. You're not going to change that person. This is one of those scenarios where
you're wasting your time.
Probably wants you to just come out for a good time and all of that. So from the jump, take note of how they're communicating.
Do you guys have any suggestions? I mean, I know you weren't in a long distance relationship, and we weren't.
I ain't never been in one.
Do you guys have any suggestions, like just being wives now and off the top of your heads of, because you gotta, even in a in-person relationship, you gotta keep communication going. Mm-hmm. Do you have any suggestions for viewers on how they can keep the conversation going in a long distance relationship?
I like games. Like, it's something that, like, Dre and I are both like little nerds. We like games, and games are an easy way to start conversations, whether it's like the conversation cards or
there's so
even,
many little cards on Amazon.
We recently bought Scrabble and Battleship, and like we had so much fun just like
and
playing
I'm
that.
so positive there's like virtual options to that now.
Yeah. Like just like simple, when you do simple things that don't take a lot of thought and effort, that's
or even
when
money.
Like easy. Yeah. Even money. That's when like the easy conversation can flow, and you can just enjoy each other's company without it being so like strategic or like, you know, tailored to like, this is what we're doing and how we're spending our time. It's kind of like more free flowing.
Yeah.
But I think too, it gets hard, and this is funny because Dre has only been in his new position for 2 weeks, but the difference in like us being both full-time entrepreneurs and working from home and whatnot to him being in an office Monday through Friday, I'm like, I feel so distant. Like, by the time he comes home, like I'm winding down and like I'm tired, and I'm like, I don't want to do the things to like connect, even though I know I should, but I'm like, I'm just tired and I just want to lay down and watch some TV and not think. But it is important to have conversations like, how was your day? You know, so just doing the bare minimum sometimes is doing a lot. And that's just making sure to check in. How was your day? What was the high moments of your day? Did anything go wrong? Is there anything I can do to make you feel better? Like the simple things go a really long way.
You know, create your protocols. Like for me and Sean, it's always when I come in the house, I have to give him a kiss. And if I don't, it's not that I get, you know, in trouble, but you know, it's an expectation.
Girl.
Yeah, when we go to sleep, we got to give each other a kiss. It's just like a very simple protocol, even if we're pissed at each other.
Yeah.
So it's very simple, you know, and this is something that can be done virtually. Like you can figure out something to do that, you know, when you get on the phone together, what's the protocol? How was your day?
A FaceTime before you go to sleep, so I know you ain't sleeping next to nobody.
Like, what do you say?
Yeah.
I'd be the one to have the phone on the pillow beside me. Like, that's how I probably wasn't meant for a virtual relationship, because I'd have my hair done in every video for like the first month. Like, yeah, it's that. I have a lot of respect for those in long distance relationships, because, it's hard. It sounds difficult.
I was going to just echo that. Just create a routine for you guys. Like every single day, even though obviously my husband and I live together, you know, he calls me, he FaceTimes me at lunchtime. So I expect that. So when it doesn't happen, I'm like, where
exactly.
he at? You know, so it's like, so just creating some normalcy and routine around you guys' relationship, I think is just really critical. And don't falter on that. It's like every day before my husband gets up and goes to work, he gives me a kiss, right? So like find out what you guys want your routine to be and stick to that, because that's something that's between you guys, and that's going to be special between you guys.
That makes it special.
So just figure out what that is for you guys and just make sure that you're consistent with it every single day.
Yeah. And this is the last thing I want to say. As a woman, when you are dating long distance, don't feel bad or don't feel nervous or scared to speak up and say what is needed from your person to make the long distance make sense. Because I think sometimes women are in these long distance relationships, they don't want to come across as like needy, or even, I mean, and that goes for regular relationships. Speaking up and explaining your expectations is not you being needy. And if it scares that person away, that's not your person, because all it is communication. And it makes it easier on the man if he knows exactly what you want and how you want it, in a lot of other different categories as well. Takes a lot of pressure off if you just say, hey, this is what I want, and this is how I want it, and this is why, and what about you? So don't be nervous or afraid to do that, because I know some people are always worried about like, well, I don't want to scare him off, it's too soon. No, girl, it's being a grown up and communicating. Be intentional
about what you want and what you're looking for. Like, we're not out here just trying to waste time, especially with no man who's long distance.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this helped. If you guys have any thoughts, any guidance, or feedback for Bree and her long distance relationship and how to keep things moving accordingly, please comment below and let us know. Keep us updated. If you have a scenario or a situation you want to share with us, go to relationshiprestored.com for the girls and fill out the form. Help a girl out. Follow us on Instagram at Cece Costin, at Angela Hannah, and at Brianna Aponte. And until next time,
See ya.